Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Michael Honeycutt, with Head of Marketing at Corero Network Security. Today's webinar is the first 90 days, why business continuity is a proactive decision. And today I'm joined by Michelle Ragusa-McBain. This is your first webinar with us. Why don't you take a second to introduce who you are and what you're doing at Corero, Michelle?
Absolutely. Well, hi, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. And hello to everyone joining in. My name is Michelle Ragusa-McBain, and I am the new VP of Global Channels and Alliances at Corero. And I'm very excited to be here. It's really an example of Corero doubling down on the investment to our partners, strategic relationships, and keeping everybody safe and protected. So excited to be here today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And, we deeply care about our partners. So glad to have somebody as passionate as you are joining us. So today we're talking about business continuity in the first 90 days, right? We're in the middle of this first quarter. And I think it's only appropriate for us to kind of lay out the threat landscape and, put it in context. We released a report to go along with this webinar that will be included with the webinar, but it's really a sort of a strategic guide. So let's talk about the threat landscape and why we believe organizations should start planning now instead of later.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we're starting with continuity and not fear, because continuity is actually what businesses really do care about at the end of the day. So I think, for us, it's one of the most important things because modern attacks are really to erode availability quietly.
Yeah.
It's not something that's always loud and pronounced, and I know we see that a lot in movies or you hear about it in the news. But there's usually these headline gripping outages. But truly, more often than not, there's subtle disruptions that slowly over time slow applications. They strain your infrastructure. They create customer friction, often without triggering a lot of alarms, bells, and whistles. So the danger isn't really in the size of the attack. It's the assumption that no alert means there's been no impact. And so at Corero, we really emphasize invisibility before that, the reactive nature has to set in. So how can you be more proactive about what you see, and how can you optimize what you don't understand?
Yeah, that's really great. So you hit on where we're going to go to next, but I want to talk about that visibility because that's a key differentiator that Corero provides. So visibility across on-prem and into the cloud. So that's something that's truly a difference maker, right? So having that visibility, and as you said, those headline grabbing attacks, that we hear about the terabits and stuff. The truth of the matter is 82% are less than a gig. So if you don't have that granular visibility, you're missing it. And you're right, it is eroding service. So think about it. A good example would be, a gaming hosting provider. Latency is just not something that a customer is going to deal with. AI sensitive workloads, any sort of latency, any sorts of delay is definitely going to have an impact on service. And again, it doesn't have to take a massive link saturating attack to degrade service or create something that's just not providing, I guess, what would be the standard that a business would want to uphold. And then the last thing you touched on was sort of that reactive premium. And so let's kind of double click on that. In the white paper, we talk about being proactive versus reactive. I've said before, you either plan for failure or you answer to it. Can you go into some explanation of what we mean by proactive versus reactive?
Yeah, and just double click on what you just said, right? Like seconds can save businesses, they could save lives. Like this time is of the essence, right? Being up, being always on is a critical component. And reactive security is really expensive, it's disruptive, it's unpredictable. So when organizations wait, they're essentially accepting that the first test of their defenses will happen during an incident, which is exactly what we don't want to happen. So when services are truly degraded, customers are impacted, and leadership is under pressure. A proactive approach really flips this on its head, and it allows businesses to protect continuity before the peak attack season, which is all year long, really. It validates coverage while there's still time to adjust, emergency spending later in the year after it's too late. So at Corero, we really do believe that business continuity should be automatic, it should be strategic and intentional, and not something that's triggered by a crisis. But proactive to give you peace of mind. They don't just exist. You want to thrive in your business.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, one of the sort of the marketing North Stars that we use is protection that works while you sleep, right? So I mean, the whole point is that you can go off and do what you're supposed to do and you're not putting out fires. Firefighting is not fun. It's also very costly to the business. Um, and so let's go in a little bit more. So why now? What's the strategic imperative for Q1 though? Why are we saying the first 90 days is really important versus the rest of the year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is the time where organizations in Q1 are getting their budgets, they're planning out the year ahead. Most businesses are in their planning mode. This is where the priorities are still a bit flexible and terms have space to plan in it. But once you move into Q2 or Q3 or Q4, decisions are usually driven by budget allocations, the incidents or outages or customer impacts that have happened along the way. And this is when really costs are going to begin to escalate. So the white paper does a great job of showing that real cost isn't just about mitigation. It's downtime, it's lost productivity, it's operational disruptions, emergency labor, reputational damage, right? Good news travels fast, bad
Sure.
news travels even faster. So,
Yeah.
how do we act now, protecting growth initiatives versus just avoiding mistakes? I think this is what this campaign really is hitting the nail on for our companies that we work with.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what there's a worksheet in the white paper that allows you to kind of go through and talk about your incident response and the cost of incident. We know from doing our own data that on average, organizations face 11 attacks a day. So right now you're probably being attacked. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter, right? So if you
Mhm.
add that up throughout the year, and then we also know that it cost of those attacks per incident, 500,000 to $1 million, depending on obviously your business. It's very expensive, right? I mean, so why not try to get ahead of it, be proactive, take the stance of, hey, look, we're not going to accept service degradation. Um, so with that, let's go into the cost. I mean, you kind of talked about it, right? So I talked about sort of just maybe it's loss of sales, but what else should businesses be thinking about? What are the externalities to downtime?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really reminiscent of, a life pre-COVID, post-COVID, right? And now every company is a technology company, every vertical, every industry, and everybody is at risk. It's not if,
Mhm.
but when an attack
Right.
happens. So waiting always feels cheaper until it isn't. And we know that, right? And at the end of the day, I think companies often underestimate how broadly a disruption can ripple throughout the entire business, right? It's not just one section of your business. It's not just a security issue. It's the lost revenue that happens during the downtime. It's the IT and our operations teams that are pulled in to be firefighters and putting out these emergency situations. It's delays in other projects because you have to reassess your resources and your responsibilities and how you position your timelines. It's also leadership's attention diverted from growth and strategy to damage control. And so Corero really is trying to focus on a quantified business continuity, which means we're basically helping organizations understand that the real cumulative of cost of disruption can make better decisions before break. So not just about the protecting the momentum, not just the infrastructure. And again, I mean, what is the cost of your customers finding out about an incident, right? There is a real risk to all of this.
Yeah, of course. And something else, and speaking about being proactive, that's something that Corero has built into the product, right? So we have proactive intelligence. So it's, our behavioral anomaly detection gets ahead of those 0 days, right? So and if you don't have the team to manage that, right? Think about the cost of a team that doesn't specifically, they're not trained in DDoS every day, right? But now if you're putting them in this reactive mode and they're having to firefight all day, they're going to be slower, right? Because they're learning. That's part of what we have brought onto with a managed solution, right? So we can manage all of that for you. So you don't need a dedicated team to focus on DDoS all day, right? We'll take care of that. But then there's the
Mhm.
automated function of the solution itself, right? So with the proactive, the DDoS intelligence baked into the product, just you're so many light years ahead of attackers, right? Because these attackers are changing vectors constantly, right? So you
Right.
don't have time as an organization, and I would posit that you don't want to be spending time learning about these threats. You need to be focused on your business and your customers, and we allow companies to do that. So there's like the sort of the two modes of being proactive there, right? So there's one of proactive making a decision now in the calendar year or your security posture. But then there's also sort of making sure when you're looking for a vendor that you're finding a vendor that also takes a proactive approach within the product. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, right? Focus on what you do best. You can't be all things to all people in all the world, right? We're not peanut butter, we're not pizza. Satisfy everyone. Our goal is to know what our superpowers are, and we are purpose built. That is what Corero does. We are
Yeah.
going to give that readiness, that availability, that
Mhm.
always on. We are going to mitigate those attacks before they begin. And this really moves the conversation from reaction to readiness. And I think that's, one of the best things that I can say is for partners, it's no longer about selling protection after something happens. We are instilling and empowering you to be proactive for your customers and allow them to prevent these things, which a lot of people are not prepared for. And it's about helping customers build continuity into their operations from day one, from those first 90 days on. And for business leaders, it really reframes security as an enabler, something that supports your growth, your availability, your confidence. And instead of being a constant source of interruption, you have peace of mind. And that's what we're all striving for. And I'm so I'm 1 month in my job. And when I began in our sales kickoff. What a wonderful time to begin at this company with our amazing product roadmap that's being developed to continue to enhance and enable our customers and our partners. But there's one subject that comes to mind, and it was Sergio, who is the CEO and president of Forte Telecom out of Brazil. And I remember him saying something to the effect of he couldn't fly because he was so worried about an attack happening and him being unavailable. Would you mind sharing? I know that you helped do a partner testimonial, a customer testimonial, because Sergio is both a partner and a customer of ours. Could you share for our audience a little bit about his story?
Yeah. First of all, Sergio is a super passionate guy, and it was real easy to kind of get information out of him. But yeah, he wouldn't. He was being attacked. So a major Brazilian ISP, right? They were getting attacked a lot, right? And so he wouldn't fly because when you're in the air, you don't have communications, right? And so he wouldn't fly, or he wouldn't take a family vacation for fear of getting that call, right? You know, that oh crap moment of panic sets in. Now I have to react, right? Because the solution that he had at the time really wasn't a solution for his business. He needed something else that came out of SCO. Was he said, Corero kept my business alive, right? He was afraid of losing his business. And I think that's really the genesis of the conversation we're having today, business continuity, right? Like the emotional sense of, hey, look, you could have the best product in the world, right? And you said earlier, right? We're all connected. So if your business relies on internet connectivity, right, for the exchange of services and goods, you
Yeah.
need our solution, right? Because we're the first line, right? And that's what we're trying to get businesses to think about. It's like it's not just some sort of reactive insurance premium. Think about this as, hey, look, this is a way that we keep our businesses and services alive. And there's actually a really another good case study that came out from another service provider that we work with, and he was a CISO, and he told me in the case study in the interview process, he said, hey, look, Mike, I'm probably on the back half of my career. I know when I sign on with Corero that we're definitely going to renew, right? And at some point I'm going to be off sailing somewhere, and I want to be able to rest easy that I
Yeah.
made a good decision and I left my company in a good place. I mean, that's a huge endorsement that somebody would stake their entire career on our solution. And it just makes us proud. And it, again, underscores that continuity discussion that we're having.
Yeah, very powerful. I mean, obviously, this is the point, right? Companies are more than just business. It's there are people behind these businesses, and there's a lot at stake. And it's really important that we are helping to keep our partners and customers safe, and that we're giving them this peace of mind, and we're allowing them the availability to know that they have not only the right technology, but the right support from our team to ensure that. So thank you for sharing that. I love those examples.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. I mean, and Michelle, again, I would, you've touched on it about the partners, but I would love for you to kind of go in because you've come in with a plan for our partners. And I would love for you to sort of shed some light on, the value that this is going to bring the partners and their customers. If you could just kind of go into it, because I think that there are people out there curious of what we mean when we say we're partner first, or what we mean when we say we're investing into our partners, how this ties to what your plan is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so for me, why would I come to Corero? For those of you who don't know me and you're just tuning in, meeting me for the first time, I've spent 21 years in the technology channel ecosystem. I spent 14 of those years at Cisco. I was employee 1,485. They're up to about 85,000. So I began my career as an engineer there. I went, then navigated into SonicWall. I worked at CP CompuCom during the acquisition by Office Depot. And I have invested throughout my entire career in partner-led models. It is the most important thing to me. It's more than a business for me. It's a relationship, and it's an extension of my family. And when I met the CEO of Corero, Carl called partners family. And when I asked him about sales kickoff and certain things we were doing, he said, there's nothing internally that I wouldn't say in front of our partners, because they also are an extension of our family. And so we have an amazing product, one of the fastest, one of the most quickest to mitigate risks out there, best in class. We have a 98 point plus customer retention rate. So we're good at what we do. We're great at what we make. But more than that, we have leadership and a vision that's investing in a channel strategy to support and enable our partners. That means that we want to help drive mutual success together, to help your business grow, to also allow us to not only defend our customers together, but allow us to be driven in success together. We know that we're nothing without our partners. 91% of cybersecurity sales are driven through the partner ecosystem in many different ways. And customers do a lot of work vetting who their trusted advisors are, who's going to keep them up and running, who's going to keep them safe and protected. And when partners are selecting who they choose to work with, they're looking at a lot of things of what they want to put in their stack. And we are honored to be a part of the stack of solutions that allows us to help our partners really drive safety and security and shift from business continuity as just a moment to a mindset. We're allowing our partners to realize that we can do it with them, we can do it for them, we can white label it, however it looks best, because that is our expertise. Again, we're purpose built for this intention, and it's more than technology for Corero. It's about investing and enabling and supporting our partners, and therefore our customers around the world.
I love that. I mean, so the words just aren't hollow, right? We've put action behind the words, and I think you've done a really good, made a really good case of explaining that. Michelle, if a partner is watching this today and they're curious about our services, uh, what should they do? Right? How should they reach out? What are sorts of discovery questions that they should be thinking about? Just lay it out for us.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, please connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with Michael, our team. We're always here to help answer any questions you have. In my past life, I've obviously worked in networking and security for many years. And one of the things I get asked, right off the bat is, well, I have a firewall. Doesn't that mean I have DDoS? The answer is no. So for anyone listening that knows me from a past life, I've learned a lot about the layers of education, what you truly need to keep yourself protected and up and running. And so that's where our solution is uniquely different than our competition or those that claim to have DDoS protection. And we're more than DDoS company. I feel also Corero has reinvested and reimagined our product portfolio. At sales kickoff, we talk about 6 new products that are coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned for that. I mean, just an aggressive undertaking of investment to know what we need to keep our companies that we work with up and running and safe and protected. And beyond that, I'm renewing and creating a whole new partner program that's going to drive rebates and SPRIF, co-branded marketing dollars for investment, for business intention, business development funds. We want to make sure that you have proof of concepts and NFRs. You're able to kick the tires and test out our solution. By all means, I'd love for you, if you're working with somebody else, compare and contrast. And we have a plethora of just incredible, brilliant engineers and solution architects that will be happy to, again, answer any questions you have and walk you through our stack of solutions and how we can help create a platform really to drive your defense.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you heard her. Connect with Michelle. She'll be glad to talk to you about Corero and our platform solutions. And you're right. So we're growing out, and it's because of the purpose-built nature of the product and the visibility that we have that we're able to develop all of these associated products that can give you more visibility, more actionable insights, more intel on your network, and ultimately keep you up and running. It's really an amazing suite of products that we're coming out with. Michelle, this has been a lot of fun. It's been really good to go through this and kick this off. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join us again.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, what I love and why did I join Corero? I'm excited. I feel like our mission is really continuing to make automatic, intelligent, and invisible behind the scenes so that organizations can focus on what they love and do best. They can grow their business instead of responding to alerts, outages, and blind spots. I feel like this is a great time to be a part of this company and this movement. I'm very excited for the investment that we're making, not only in our technology, but our people and our programs and our ability to support and enable our partners and our customers. And if you want to contact me directly, please reach out to me via my email, michelle.mcbain@corero.com, and feel free to connect with me however you'd like, because I'm really excited to work with you.
Awesome. So look, everybody will get a copy of the first 90 days white paper that we mentioned in the webinar. It has a worksheet in there so you can kind of work up your own costs. And there's a whole guide to how you can sort of assess and take that proactive next step to secure your business's continuity throughout 2026. Michelle, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me today. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.